It's already happening. I'm doing a trio video. I'm talking about who's playing with who. We have a lot of ridiculous trios. People saying it's gonna be Clix, Mongraal, and Savage. We have Zake coming back to the game. Mero's trying to get a good trio. I want to talk about which of the trios are real, which ones are fake, and some of the trios that I can see forming and some of the DMs I've been sent to create some of these cool teams. I also want to talk about some big region swaps. We have big players moving regions coming into the next year because of the excitement of trios. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Trying to improve at Fortnite but not even knowing where to begin is one of the most frustrating things about getting better at this game. But that's where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Blitz. All you have to do is download Blitz and run in the background of your game, and it'll tell you a whole bunch of useful information like the amount of damage you've done, how much you've taken, your headshot ratio, and it even breaks it down per weapon, so you can figure out which weapons you're doing better or worse with. Even better than this, you can compare this to other players' stats to see where you stack up against the pros and where you need to work on. Maybe you're not worried about seeing how you stack up against the pros, but you just want to see how you're doing against your teammates. Well, it also tracks their damage done as well as show you their loadout. So if your teammates being lying to you and telling you they don't have any big pots, now you'll know. Blitz has a whole bunch of other useful tools such as finding your next drop spot on the map. It can optimize your loadouts, and you can even check what the newest items are in the Fortnite item shop. Blitz will also work on a whole bunch of your other favorite games as well, like Apex Legends, Valorant, League of Legends. So if you want to download it and give it a try today, click my link in the description down below. Now, I know we're all a little bit excited. We're switching game modes for the first time in a long time. So I'm going to talk about official trios, the ones that are official and the ones that I think we're going to see. But remember, all of this can change. The next FNCS is most likely like 4 months away. It looks like whatever leaks we got about OG FNCS weren't true, and if they were, I doubt it's going to be trios, so we're looking at Chapter 6, Season 1. But either way, I know everyone's excited. It's fun to talk about trios. It's really cool to see who's coming together. We even have huge pros moving regions, but keep in mind, any of this can change at any moment, and a lot of them probably will change before FNCS comes around. But it's still fun to look at, and some of these are looking crazy stacked. So first off, we have a few official trios, or at least as official as they can get. I can confirm that all 3 players intend to play together. It's not an impression farm. They are locked in as a trio for now, and 2 of them are really, really big. So first off, Peter, Pollo, and Cold. Now, I'm surprised to see this. I thought Cold and Acorn were going to stick together. I know Cold and Acorn have tried to split up in the past. If you guys don't remember, it feels like ancient history. Cold and Acorn were actually going to split up after winning FNCS, giving up their land spot because their vibes were off. They then were forced to continue to play together because Epic wouldn't let them disband and give up their land spot because they went past the cutoff to fill out the form, and they were forced to stick together and then went on to have an insane chapter. So it's not surprising to see they split up. I guess maybe they just didn't want to play together anymore. They've been playing fantastic. Their only bad event this whole year was the LAN event, and it's because Cold got really sick on day 2 with food poisoning. But either way, we have one of the scariest trios I've ever seen with Peter, Pollo, Cold. I think they're going to perform extremely well. While I'm talking about all these trios, I do need to mention as well, it's been a while since we've had trios. It's been like 3 years at this point. I don't want you guys to hold on to a lot of the old notions of like, you know, IGL fragger support and who's going to IGL and who's going to do this, and oh, I don't know if you're going to work together. That's not really how trios is going to go. The game has developed so far past that. You even see that now with duos. Most really good duos, there's no firm IGL. It's more collaborative. There might be one person who's, you know, making most of the calls in endgame, but even take Peter and Pollo, for example. Peter's on stream has said that Pollo does most of the calls early and mid game, and then Peter leads the end game. So even in their duo, there's no hard IGL. So you throw Cold in the mix, and I'm guessing it's just going to be kind of like a collaborative trio with some of the most ridiculous fighting power I have ever seen. Now, one of my only issues with this trio is Peter and Pollo have been absolutely grinding this chapter. And I don't just mean tournaments. They play every scrim match. They're in creative all the time. Both these guys, everyone in the pro scene will tell you, they are the hardest workers. They never take days off. They are completely grinding. Cold, on the other hand, not known as being the hardest worker. He doesn't need to be. Cold is still phenomenally good without putting as much time into the game. He might be one of those players where if he tries to put more time into the game, it actually make him worse. He'll burn out and hate it, but I'm not sure how that's going to go for things like trios and maybe playing every single cash cup. Maybe Cold is just going to lock in for the whole of next year, know he's playing with 2 players who are really, really passionate and kind of just feed off that energy. But even like, you know, a few days out from the most recent LAN, Cold and Acorn weren't even scrimming together, and Acorn wasn't even playing some of the cash cups. So I guess we'll see how that plays out for this trio. We have the NA FNCS champs on a trio, and now we have EU. We have Vico and Flixie confirming they're going to be playing with Chap. Now, this is an extremely scary trio again. Really, really good fighting power. You'll notice both of these players work with Raz, a coach I've been gassing up a lot. Raz, who's done a lot of work this year with some amazing teams, and it looks like he's continuing to do so in the trios, and it looks like it's either his policy or his client's policies to really lock in teams early, because these were the first two official trios we had announced. Now, Chap, Vico, and Flixie, I think is going to function very similar to what Vico and Flixie did. They're going to take a lot of early and mid-game fights. They're going to play super aggressive, but with that much fighting power, that fits their playstyles. Chap and Teeny just did the same thing at LAN. Chap and Teeny just came 6th at LAN with basically only a one-day performance. Their first day, other than the win, wasn't too fantastic. Their second day was amazing though, and they did off the back of taking a lot of very aggressive early and mid-game fights. So this trio makes perfect sense. They're all also German, so they can comm in German if they want to. It looks like a super deadly trio. I'm interested to see how this goes. There was actually rumors originally that it was going to be Peter, Pollo, and Vico. We actually heard this from very reliable sources, Razaru, their coach. It looks like maybe when Vico looked at the reality of traveling to NA to compete, it just wasn't worth it when he has this good of a trio option. And then the last confirmed trio we have right now, like 100% locked in, and this is no surprise if you follow the comp scene, is Swizzy, Mustache, and Vanya, which does mean Malabuka has been dropped from the team with Mustache. Now, if you know this squad, you know they play everything together. Swizzy, Mustache, Vanya, and Malabuka are extremely good friends. Every interview when they're asked who else they want to see do well, who if they get eyes on, they always gas each other up. They're extremely close. They're really good friends, but it's trios. One of them was gonna have to be dropped, and it looks like it was Malabuka. I'm guessing this won't affect their vibes at all. I've seen both these duos literally contest each other in a cash cup and still at the end of it say, we're friends, it's just business, competition's competition. So I don't think Malabuka's gonna hold any grudges. I don't know why Malabuka wasn't slotted into this team, but it looks like for whatever reason, it's gonna be Swizzy, Mustache, and Vanya. Now, those are the only, in my opinion, 100% official trios. And you're thinking, Aussie, that's not a lot. There's a lot going around. There's a lot of like duos looking for a third, and there's a lot of rumored trades, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But these are teams that I know won't just tweet it out for impressions. Again, you probably saw Mr. Savage announce it's gonna be Mr. Savage, Mongraal, and Clix. Clix is moving to EU. Obviously not happening. And then you hear some other ones which might be potential, like Veno and Clix, you know, maybe going to EU and they're going to play with Queasy. I'll talk about the potential options, but those three are really the only trios, at least out of the really big ones I have eyes on, that I would consider official trios. Now would be a good time to talk about what Clix is doing. Now, Clix has expressed that he would go to EU to play with Veno. Veno expressed that he might stay in NA to play with Clix, but I don't think that's true. Veno really stated he hated playing on NA last season. He was saying that what happened in grand finals with, you know, all of the stuff going on with the med machine and all that, it wouldn't have happened on EU. NA players are weird. Looked like Veno just didn't enjoy playing on NA at all. Now, as much as Clix has said he will go to EU, I just don't really think that he would. He has so many things keeping him in NA. Obviously, he's co-owner of an NA-based org. They just signed a whole bunch of talent. He makes a whole bunch of content in NA for NA-based companies. He did like a whole week shoot for State Farm. Again, he could also travel for that one as well. He also does tokens every single night with all of the NA-based guys. His viewership time is used to being on NA. He also has a lot going on outside just with his real life. He likes playing basketball with his friends. He visits his family basically at the end of every single season. You could still do all of this technically from EU, but it would be a lot harder, and I just don't think Clix would move to EU if you had to seriously look at it. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. And it looks like Clix has agreed because it's looking most likely Clix is going to play alongside Reet. He just played the Duo Cash Cups on Brazil, EU, and NA with Reet. Well, they didn't do the best. I don't really think it was anything to do with them as a duo going into trios. I think they will be a fantastic trio. Their vibes are really good. They're happy to make content. They play creative together all the time. They do say they want a pretty hard IGL. And again, like I said, you kind of got to let go of some of those notions, but basically they want someone to lead them, tell them what to do, and do all the VOD reviewing and all the boring stuff that they don't really want to do. Now, as far as options here, I think they have about 5 really solid options for the most part. The criteria for me, and they've said this as well, needs to be okay making content, needs to bring good vibes. They said specifically they would play with someone who brings good vibes over someone who is better, but maybe brings down the vibes, and they have to be a pretty hard IGL as we just discussed. So I think there's about 5 options here. I think you've got Acorn, I think you've got Kanata, you've got Rise, you've got Rapid, and then you've got Mr. Savage. Now, this is a bit of a weird one. Again, Mr. Savage have to split from Mongraal to make this happen, but Mr. Savage Clix Reet would go crazy. I don't think it's gonna happen. Mr. Savage and Mongraal did just do NA. Maybe Mr. Savage Mongraal comes over and Clix plays them as crazy content. I don't see it happening, but maybe. Oh, and Booga. Sorry, Booga was the other one as well. Now, it makes sense. Acorn, Kanata, Booga, Rapid, they're all extremely good players. Again, Rapid hasn't really done too much on stream, but I think the other three especially would be down to play on stream. They have played with streamers in the past and would make some pretty disgusting trios. But sadly, because of the needing to make content part, it does limit a lot of the people they could play with overall. But I'm excited to see what they cook up with. Again, they've been playing duos together, so we'll see. Now, as far as Acorn or Kanata goes, this one could be a little bit tough because Acorn and Kanata look like they're actually going to be playing trios together. They're extremely good friends. They're both very, very good players. Both signed to the same org. They live together whenever they're boot camping. It makes a lot of sense. They've said this on social media themselves. So Acorn and Kanata could fit with basically any extremely good fragger or any really good fighter. I'm seeing like Iomzo, players like that would be really, really solid in here. They could honestly pick up against so many. They have a lot of options and choices. It looks like we have Mero coming back and making a big play for trios. Mero is the most decorated trio player of all time. He is phenomenally strong at the game mode. I think being trios, controller players will be more valuable again. We only had 4 controller players at LAN out of the 100, and I think if we go to trios and we get hit scan back in the game, it's going to be a lot easier. And you're probably thinking, Aussie, why is trios better for controller? Well, the main reason why controller players aren't doing too well in duos is because of Storm Surge. Again, without long range aim assist, it's too hard to hit long range tags consistently, and when there's only 2 of you and almost all of the controller players are fraggers, so the IGL is trying to, set up for the rotate, set up the loot, all that kind of stuff, it makes it a lot harder. When you've got trios, this should be a lot more manageable. So Mero's coming back, and it looks like he's going to run it back with the global champs, and they're going to be as a duo, him and Cooper, looking for a third. Now, I think there's some good options here. They could play with Sphinx, they could play with Ritual. Again, just needs a good fighter who is in their friend group, and I'm very excited to see how that one plays out. Now, Savage and Mongraal, I've said that I don't think Savage and Mongraal are going to split. I've said that Clix isn't going to NA would play with them, so who do they have left? I think it, again, needs to be someone who's comfortable making content, brings good vibes, and again, a good fighter, or at least someone they're comfortable with. My 2 main people I'm looking at is Pink and Marius. Now, I know Marius gets a lot of hype, hasn't done too well in the last few seasons. Again, his surge strats haven't been the greatest, but in trios, that's going to go out the window more. They could be a super aggressive fighting team. Pink, again, while normally following into that IGL role, is an extremely good fighter, has very, very good vibes with Savage and Mongraal. They've done a bunch of stuff in the past. I'd love to see either of these teams play together as well. Now, we do have a legendary duo reforming again for trios, Veno and Queasy. Again, it looks like they've announced Veno is staying on EU. He is looking for a third with Queasy. Again, if Clix wants to go to EU, I think that could be a pretty crazy trio as well, but I just don't see it happening. This leaves a lot of options. It could be Trulex or Chicho. Again, Queasy won FNCS with Trulex in the past. Chicho and Trulex just came 3rd at the LAN event. They're phenomenally good. They're very, very close with Queasy. Either of these guys could work. They might want to stay together though. They've been playing together for a really long time, so they might just try and pick up a third. I thought Thomas HD could slot in here really well. Queasy and Thomas just came 2nd. Veno and Thomas get along really well. That would be a disgustingly good trio. It looks like Thomas did send a very heartfelt message to Queasy. If you saw on social media, it was really, really nice to see, and it looks like potentially Queasy and Thomas have split up. I don't know why, because it seems like the vibes were great. Thomas loved playing with Queasy. They came 2nd, but for whatever reason, maybe they want to switch up the vibes for trios. But I do want to announce a new fragger that might be coming to NA and pretty much has locked it in. We have Alex, Power Alex, OC FNCS champion, splitting with Worthy and moving to NA. So we've got a new fragger on the block. It'd be cool to see maybe Alex play with Muzz. There's a bunch of different NA players I haven't talked about here. It's way too hard to cover everyone. I'm trying to cover some of the major names who have made moves, but seeing an OC player come over to NA, I'm hoping we see the same level of success as Muzz in trios, and it would be awesome to see another OC boy do well. Unfortunately, OC really hasn't been doing the best at international LAN events. It looks like Alex has finally just accepted the fact that in OCE, he's never going to be able to get good enough to compete on an international scale. There's just not enough practice. There's not enough games going on. There's not enough players. He needs to move to NA and do what Muzz did if he really wants to keep continuing his career. I don't know what this means for Power. I don't know how he's going to make group videos with them, but I'm very excited to see a new, young, extremely good player move to NA and increase the skill gap. I'm really hoping we get some kind of trio event. I was talking about turning the reload tournaments into trio cash cups. Hopefully in the OG season, we get some kind of trios, because at this point, we're talking about these trios. Everyone's so focused on it because we got the announcement, but again, we might not actually have any official trios for 4 months. They have started running trio scrims on some of the bigger regions to see how these trios play out, and everyone's super excited and loving it, so it's fun to see. But again, until money's on the line, they actually have to lock in and play together. Expect a lot of stuff to be up in the air. You have a lot of pros trying to quickly lock in their trio and get the best teammates possible, and then you have other trios like Kanata was saying on stream, we got 4 months. What are we doing? Why is everyone freaking out? And I think trios that have like players who have good options for trios like Kanata don't need to freak out and lock people down as much. But it's still fun to look at. I'll probably be making these updates semi-regularly. I don't want to do it like every week or anything, but if we start to get some trio tournaments, expect these kind of videos to come back in a big way, because it's fun to look at, it's fun to switch the game mode, and it's cool to see how these trios form, because sometimes you get some really, really unlikely combinations.